So we are finally here at the final DLC for Eiyuden Chronicle, and that is the Markus chapter. Now I'm going to go over some of my thoughts about this particular DLC and the DLC of Eiyuden as a whole toward the end of the video. So thank you guys for supporting this. I still love Eiyuden Chronicles, but you know I'm going to keep it real on my videos. So without any further delay, let's jump into this last final DLC that focuses on the chapter of Markus. Now, Markus was always a pretty interesting character in the Eiyuden Chronicle lore, and we were all really excited about this DLC because it actually took place not as a prequel of sorts, and we'll look into see if that actually stands with this DLC. Now, we are transported back to Markus's kingdom, if you will. I'm going to keep it extremely vague because I don't want to spoil these DLCs for folks who just hasn't had their chance to play with it. You get a party of Momo, Milana, Markus, and Noah. Pretty small group this time around, and you're also accompanied by the teleporter as well. So we're thrusted back into a little bit of Markus's history here, and as I just said, the other DLCs were kind of prequel of sorts. This one sort of follows that same suit, but instead it goes back in time to focus on Markus's particular downfall or the fall of his kingdom. Now, we've seen this venue before inside of the game, so nothing really new aesthetically here. What I will say about the game's length is that it is the exact same length as the other DLCs in question, so of course come into it expecting that. Unfortunately, there are maybe some few new enemy sprites. I can't really tell. I can't really recall. Some of them did get pretty redundant. That was exactly from the base game. Here we're going through more of a corridor like situation. There's not many twists, not many turns, pretty much just run straight forward through, which is what I did. Pretty standard affair with the enemies being extremely weaker than we were. Honestly, everything here gameplay wise is the exact same as the other DLCs as well as the base game. The most meat of this DLC is learning a bit more about Markus and his kingdom, which it was a nice breath of fresh air because this was an area that I wish the base game would have explored a little bit better because there's some juicy lore here. I actually enjoy the lore and the banter between Markus and his old contemporaries and seeing how certain people that we fought in the base game came to be. Now, let's move over to some other story related things that I wasn't that fond of. Toward the end of this DLC, there is a plot twist that directly correlates with one of the characters we use currently in our party / in this exact team that we have. There's a direct correlation between who they were in the past and who they are today. And I have to say, I don't know if I'm going to catch some heat for it. I did not like this twist at all. It's a little bit too on the nose. It speaks way too much to the modern times that we are in. And when I come to these games, I don't want to be bombarded with the same social climate issues that we have in our everyday life. So that's just me. I might catch some fire for that, but it is what it is. And I stand by what I've said. Now, final boss wise is once again a little bit more of that copy and paste that we've seen from the base game. At least we got treated to this cool backdrop here that you see on the screen. But as the climax for this DLC, unfortunately, it's just not that appealing / exciting, just as it was with the other DLCs. Well, at least the first DLC went ahead and gave us a unique villain, but this one follows suit closely with the same DLC, and we get pretty much a generic final baddie that we could pretty much fight against in the base game, which is extremely disappointing because Markus's chapter had the potential to have a completely unique final boss, and once again with these DLCs, I just don't know, the ball was dropped. Now, overall, as for my final thoughts on this entire Eiyuden Chronicle DLC thing, I would not, in good faith and good consciousness, recommend any of them to pay for. If you are not a backer and you didn't receive these for free, then I would not recommend you go out and pay extra for any one of these DLCs. Altogether total, there may be 2.5 hours. 2 hours if you just streamline it, probably even under that if you're really being honest. I don't quite know why these were particularly DLCs. They should have just been maybe promoted as just extra for backers. Selling them separately, I just don't really like it. And I love Rabbit and Bear Studio. I love everything that this project has stood for. And Eiyuden Chronicle was one of my favorite games of these recent years. But I just cannot recommend any of these DLCs as a standalone product. They only can stand on the shoulders of each other, and that's barely standing high at all. There are some redeeming qualities about it, which we got a DLC character out of Sing, and we got some at least somewhat backstory on some of the characters, but nothing enough substantially to charge, what does it come to, about $21 for all 3 separate DLCs, I think. I don't know, maybe my numbers are off, but I think these DLCs were what, $6.99, $4.99, something like that. I don't even think they should be those prices, so it don't matter which prices they are, they shouldn't even be that. $1.99 at the most if you just can't get enough Eiyuden Chronicle. I am still excited about the future of Eiyuden Chronicle, but going forward, Rabbit and Bear will have to learn from our feedback. They're going to have to learn from these criticisms, and these need to be applied to Eiyuden Chronicle 2 because it won't be as soft-hitting and generous next time around if they do some of these same mistakes that we have been consistently complaining to them about. They need to take all this feedback in. I believe Eiyuden Chronicle can be absolutely great, and all because the Suikoden 2 remasters are out, it doesn't mean I'm abandoning this game. I still think Eiyuden Chronicle is phenomenal and it has great potential, but it is on Rabbit and Bear to seize the feedback that they need to implement the next time around, okay? So guys, that is my final review of all these Eiyuden Chronicle DLCs. I don't recommend them separately. If you're a backer, go ahead and check them out. But I am a little disappointed, but I will not lose faith. I'll continue to have hope that maybe someday Rabbit and Bear will announce Eiyuden Chronicle 2 and we'll see the fruits of all of this criticism and feedback that we've given them. Thank you so much for supporting my Eiyuden content, guys. I'll see you on the next one. Let me know if you're going to check out any of these DLCs. All right, y'all, we're out of here. Peace.